So welcome everybody to the Sweet Spot Global Leadership Summit, where we will be talking all week about how organizations and their leaders can thrive from the inside out. And today I'm super excited to introduce you to the fabulous Angela Mazzi. So Angela's
there.
Hi Angela, welcome. So Angela Mazzi's research on sociocultural context provides perspective on how culture reflects in architecture and user experience. So Angela is a career coach, a full-time practicing architect, and she hosts the Architecting podcast, which has been, I think, almost a year in publishing now, which is awesome. You can check her out there. And then she also is the author of the book Career Crisis and her new one called Time Builder, which we will be talking about today. So Angela actively speaks and writes on leadership and wellness topics, and her work in coaching reflects her commitment on how to use the power of design to make people better. She's the president of American College of Healthcare Architects. She serves on the AIA Cincinnati board and the advisory committee for the Institute of Patient-Centered Design. And she was also an advisory board member for Arizona State University's healthcare design program in its initial years. Angela, your career and industry biography is impressive, as well as I know your amazing work within the coaching field as well. So finally, Angela's research linking wellness to design has been published in many healthcare journals and presented at national and international conferences. She's a peer reviewer for Health, Environment, Research and Design Journal and the Academy of Architecture for Health Journal. And then personally, I've known Angela as a coach for maybe the last year and a half or so. And it's just been an honor, Angela, to know you and to support each other in our businesses. So I can't wait to share Angela's expertise with all of you today and talk about her new book, Time Builder. But our topic today is There Is No Later. So Angela, this is an awesome headline, and I'd love to hear about what that means to you and how leaders and organizations can use that concept to really bring a thriving aspect in everything that they do. So welcome, and can't wait to chat with you about this.
Well, thank you so much, Sarah. I always love our chats, and I always love the opportunity to share with your amazing audience. They are so lucky to be part of your community because you just offer so many great and practical resources. So I'm so excited to be here today and have a chance to share what's up. So
yes, so this whole concept of there is no later, I'd love to hear more about that and your perspective on it, because I know that theme came up for me in reading your book, The Time Builder. And so I think it's a key piece that people can unlock to get them out of being stuck or feeling frustrated and overwhelmed. So yes, let's hear about it.
Sure. So if the past year and a half, almost 2 years, it's hard to believe, has taught us anything, it's that you have to live in the moment. You can't really plan for the future. You can't say, I'll do it when or if. You have to really be in tune with what you want, and then you've got to do it. So it's really kind of examining the duality that happens between being and doing. And we understand doing, we understand the checklist, the calendar, the org chart, but we forget about why those tools are being used. And we kind of hide behind our busyness because we're always in life going to have what I call the compulsories, the errands to run, the chores to do, the tedious, detail-oriented parts of any project or the meetings to attend. But those aren't our why. Those are just process, right? And so first, we really need to get in touch with ourselves and what are our unique talents and gifts and what would excite and delight us in the way we can share them with the world.
Absolutely. I wonder if we can maybe pause there and talk about that a little bit, because I think it's easy when we get into the doing to disconnect from that piece. You know, I found as a new mom, it's been very easy to get up and focus on feed the family, get the laundry on, go to work, eat lunch, feed each other or whatever, and then keep going through the day, do meetings and clients, and and get disconnected from that being present, even though that's something I've been practicing for years. So tapping into that passion, I can understand how that can flip that switch really quickly.
Yeah, it absolutely can, because when you're you're sort of in a flow state, in the zone of genius. And we've all heard that term used, but when you're doing work from that place, do you ever notice how time and space don't even seem to exist anymore? And everything is kind of effortless, which doesn't mean that you just do it one time and it's done. You may be iterating, you may be experimenting, but nothing feels hard because you are aligned in your actions. You are being with your own talents, your own gifts, your own reasons, your own things that light you up about how you are here to serve, and your ego, not even an issue. On the other hand, when we find ourselves worrying about what other people will think of us, concerned we're not good enough, all the reasons that we are perfectionists or procrastinators, which are really just two different ways to not do something, right? I'm either not good enough, or I'll get to it when, and when never happens because I'm too busy. They're ways of hiding. And when we hide in our comfort zone, what actually happens, and there's science behind this, video games use this, the little rewards, right? Give you this little dopamine hit. So you get to the end of the day and you feel like you did stuff, except you really didn't move the ball down the field. You just the hamster wheel running. On the other hand, when you're taking that aligned action, you are making space for yourself. And there's a certain stillness in that, a certain peace in that, a certain freedom even in that, because it's not about your ego anymore. It's about your purpose. And what other people think isn't relevant, whether you are talking too much about it, isn't even a concern, because it's so connected to your passion. You just feel a compulsion almost to talk about it, to get it out there, and you're the messenger. It's not you, it's the message that matters. And from that place, you actually create more time for yourself. And that sounds crazy, like, how can that be? There's only 24 hours in a day, but it's how we spend it. And I think we've all had the experience of doing something that we can do very easily and quickly, get it done in 10 minutes. But if we're not in the right mood, or we're distracted or too tired, that same task could take an hour. And
absolutely, yeah,
that's a good point. Kind of thinking, when your brain is focused and your emotions aren't getting the best of you, and you're not second guessing yourself, and you're just being, you get so much more done. And you're also opening up, because you've turned off that stress response, your brain to possibilities, which means you're going to be more innovative and more creative. So the solutions you come up with will be that much more powerful. On the other hand, when we're stressed out, what do? Well, we know works.
Right. Yeah. And we can, like you said, stay safe and kind of avoid things, and things take longer. And this is that kind of thrive mode versus survive mode that I found myself kind of coming up with again and again. And I share with my clients too. But I know that it can be hard for people when they're in that survive mode to get there. I know now personally how to kind of hopefully be self-aware enough to catch myself, to pull out of when I'm kind of in that hamster wheel mode. But I'm wondering if you have any strategies or tips on how people can switch into that beingness and that kind of flow state.
Sure. So I always like to follow the energy. So if there's just no energy in something, and I'm like, I don't even want to do this, that's the clue that it's not aligned action. On the other hand, if I am excited to do it, then I know that it's the right thing to do. Now, I know the corollary to that is going to be all the things all of us have to do every day, right? And so people are going to say, yeah, but, well, this is this whole concept of there is no later. You can't put off what's really important to you so you can flog yourself into getting something else done. So if there's no energy in something, not only should that be a red flag for you that this isn't aligned, but it's also an opportunity to kind of say, well, if I have to do it, or maybe you don't have to do it. And a lot of times we assume we have to do things, but if I have to do it, how can I let it be easy?
That's personally my theme for this whole year, by the way, is ease and really doing things that when then you're in that effortless state, because I know the magic of that and that feeling feels so good. So I'm just going to reiterate what you just said, is just kind of following that energy to see when it feels good and exciting, and how can you let it be easy. So even if it is that chore, that sort of thing that maybe isn't quite as passion laden, maybe there is a way to kind of bring that energy into it so it can be more joy filled and tap more into that beingness again.
Yeah, or can you delegate it? Can we let go of part of perfectionism is feeling only I could do this, and being afraid, white knuckling onto a task, even if we don't like doing it, because we're afraid that we won't be visible any longer. If we delegate it and somebody else can do a good job with it, then they're going to get the credit. And again, back to this whole idea of the death of the ego, right? That's the ego trying to keep you safe, trying to say, don't take a risk, do what you're good at, make sure people see you do it and you get credit. On the other hand, if you say, I don't want to do this, but someone else needs to learn this skill, let me delegate it. And it's okay. I don't need to hold on to that, because if I follow my heart, I'm going to do something 10 times better than this.
So will they. Exactly. And I've known many folks I've worked with that hold on to that task, like you said, either because they do it well or they know how to do it and they're reluctant to have somebody else take it over, but also kind of almost protecting their team from taking it on. But I know that then if they delegate it, well, they can be in their zone of genius, but then they're empowering their team to be into, tap into their genius and doing those tasks as well.
Yeah, there definitely is a lot that our brain forms habits. It's what it's designed to do. But when we look at what we do and why we do it, do we still need to do every step of that process? Do we need to do that process at all? Is it still the easiest and best solution for us? Maybe not, but we don't stop to be mindful. We don't stop to ask those questions. We just plow ahead with our to-do list and tick, 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 and get through the day. And then at the end of the day, we're exhausted, but we really haven't accomplished anything.
So what do you think is keeping people trapped there? Is it just habit? Is it just, this is what I've done for the past, 3 months, 3 years, 30 years, or why do you think we get stuck there?
I think a lot of it is fear. So there's fear of failure. That's a kind of obvious one. If I try something different, what if I'm not good at it? I think there's also fear of standing out. So we've heard of tall poppy syndrome, and a lot of people make the mistake of thinking that just means you're afraid to show up. That's only part of it. It's really, if I take a stand and boldly show up, people will put me under a microscope. And then if I fail, it will be catastrophic. And it's that catastrophizing that's just in our head, right? We're being the judge and jury before we even did anything.
Yeah,
about
right.
why we can't do it. On the other hand, if we stay busy with tasks that we're competent at doing, we know we are going to be successful. It's going to be a limited success, but we have kind of guaranteed results and we know what to expect. So it's comfortable, it's not risky, and it actually, by staying busy, we don't have to confront our need to grow and evolve. We can just
Mhm.
keep stuffing it down because we're too busy. And we don't even have to think about it or worry about it, which is how someone can be in their 40s or 50s, have worked for years, and suddenly hit this wall where they're like, what have I done with my life? I've got nothing to show. Even though they've had some degree of success, they've gotten raises, they've gotten promotions, but they've always played it safe. And now
Mhm.
that's what they're feeling. They always put off to later, to someday, to I'll do it when, rather than doing it now because it was just easier.
That just gives me kind of goosebumps because I'm
Right?
in my early 40s and I have more time in my career yet, but it's not like it's the whole career in my future. You know, it is definitely is. Putting things off can be easy, but I guess what you're kind of tapping into is the negative aspects of staying in that sort of busy mindset. Is that, I guess what I'm hearing and what you're saying, and maybe you can elaborate on it more, is sort of that lost opportunity, that sort of missed potential, or the loss of passion that maybe gets submerged in all that busyness.
Exactly, exactly. We play it safe, but we don't consider the, to use an economic term, the opportunity cost. What is it
Mhm.
costing you not to be authentic, not to be doing things you're passionate about, not to be feeling like you're making a meaningful contribution in a way only you can, not to be joyful as much as you can? I mean, we have been taught in our cultures, and most of the world have pretty similar kind of through lines, that you got to work hard to succeed. You got to pay your
Mhm.
dues. And instead, what if our only purpose was to be happy and to be joyful and to live in love, so that
Mm.
that could telegraph to other people, and we all felt that way all the time, our world would be dramatically different place.
Mhm.
And we tend to laugh that off as childish thinking or fantasy, instead of saying that was the whole point all along. When you look at what were the regrets of the dying, it's never that they didn't work hard enough. It's never that they did too much. It's always that they didn't take a stand for doing what mattered to them, that they
Mhm.
didn't have enough fun, that they didn't enjoy life more. That's always what they regret.
That is beautiful, and I unfortunately I can't talk for hours about this because I think you've just really kind of tapped into a powerful piece here. But I'm wondering if we can maybe talk about this a little bit more before we close the conversation today. Is, as a leader or, you know, within an organization, how would somebody both tap into that for themselves, but then also evoke that in their teams and their organization? Because I fully believe with you that we are meant to be thriving people, and that when we are in that joy flow state, then that can then have a ripple effect into our organizations and the planet. So I'd love to hear your tips on how people can maybe bring this into what they do today, day to day.
Sure. This is something very dear to my heart and a big cornerstone of a lot of my coaching. So it's an inside job first, and we talked about some of the pieces of that inside job. There's more, of course, but first you've got to know who you are, what you want, what is your why. And then you've got to be empathetic. So again, we're back to this whole ego thing. When you show up, are you emotionally intelligent? Are you fully present? Are you a conscious listener? And it doesn't matter what your role is on a team, whether it's the very entry level or you are the leader. If you can cultivate these skills, you will connect and build trust with others and be able to have a level of authenticity in your interactions that will bring out everyone's fullest potential. But you can't do that if you're going in there worried about proving yourself.
Yeah, well said.
You can't do it if you got a story and you're going to get triggered at everything everybody else does or says.
So it is that, yeah, that inner piece first, that self-awareness, and then being able to be authentic with your team. And then that, like you're saying, evokes that same level of reaction in the people that you're interacting with. Wow. Well, that I think is how to be a human, really.
Pretty much,
whether wherever that is in your personal life, in your professional life. And really, this is where that creativity, that innovation, that excitement, and the joy really comes from. And I'm just very excited to talk about this topic with you, Angela. I love this, and I really appreciate your perspective on how to really tap into that, so that people can be showing up like this inspired self daily.
Yeah, and I love that you said it's your work life and your personal life, because as we are seeing, and even if COVID hadn't happened, we were on this trajectory anyway. There is no separation between work and personal life any longer. And it really becomes about what lifestyle do you want? So that's really the work here.
Yeah, and I think to summarize what you've described today is what kind of lifestyle do we want? Do we want one that's full of busyness and overwhelm and a lack of fulfillment? Or do we want one where we're having impact, we're having creativity, joy, flow, and passion? Well, I know which one I want. So I really appreciate how you shared this with us today. And I think this is a really great intro to all of the concepts that you talk on in your book, Time Builder. So I'm wondering if you can just share with us, Angela, where people can find out more about either your book, your podcast, or some freebies I know that you have available for everybody as well.
Sure. So the book, the whole purpose of writing it is everything we talked about today, how to get out of busyness, to make that space, and to essentially create time to be more innovative and more creative. And the book is available through my website. It is also available on Amazon, so you can, whichever preference you have there. If you go to my website, though, there also are a lot of good free downloads that will help you either to get clarity on what your passions are, so that you don't try to be the jack of all trades, but can do what you're really good at, or you can sort of see what's holding you back. I have a fun quiz with that. And then I also have one on worth and how to get out of negative thinking and self-consciousness and be more confident, so you can do the work you love and get paid what you deserve. So all of those are available at architectingpodcast.com. You can also find me on social media. My Instagram handles Architecting Podcast, and you can also find me at other social media channels through that. And the podcast is called Architecting Podcast. Shocker.
Awesome.
But
yes.
Find that wherever you listen to podcasts. And I would love it if you would subscribe. And if you enjoy it, tell a friend.
Wonderful, Angela. Thank you. And I'll link all of this below the video as well, so everybody can access that easily. This has been a great conversation, Angela. As always, I thoroughly enjoy talking about this stuff with you, and I'm sure everybody listening will enjoy to explore this deeper by following your podcast, checking out your freebies and your books and everything. So thank you, Angela, for telling us really about how there is no later, that now is the time to do what you're passionate about and to really tap into that flow state daily. So thank you. It's been great, and I look forward to connecting with you more in the future.
Thank you, Sarah.